So, leaders of tomorrow, today has been another day full of inspiring and thought-provoking discussions, and I would like to thank our speakers for their contribution. In order of appearance, Sir Mene Pangalos, Dmitry Kaminsky, Professor Sarah Bridle, Dr. Matthias Evers, and Professor Sir Gregory Winter. Today, we explored the future of biotech with a focus on longevity, the relationship between food and climate change, and the power of tech in driving innovations in biotech. Moreover, we heard from an entrepreneurial academic about what is possible when you translate science into commercial products and the impact this can have on patients worldwide. There is definitely no questioning that the impact that science, biotech, and entrepreneurship can have on society. And in these challenging times, it has become ever more pertinent that we focus our efforts on these areas to drive change. Over the summit, we discussed a broad range of gaps, but there are some common themes that arose that I'd like to mention today. Collaboration, diversity, and equality. I hope these broad themes and the discussions we've had around these, particularly the pledge that we all took around unconscious bias, is something that we take away from the GapSummit. In addition, our speakers have inspired us to think big picture, to zoom out of our research, and to look at the biggest gaps in biotech, the most pressing issues facing society today. Through sharing their own career journeys, our speakers have inspired us to think about our own futures and what could be possible if we followed the science, if we followed our passions and persevered in these difficult times to make a difference in this world. This is truly the essence of the GapSummit, and we hope you leave here today feeling inspired, motivated, and most importantly, confident that you can make a difference in this world. With that, I'd like to thank our speakers that have been inspiring us for the last 5 days. We have a few screenshots here from the conference that I'd like to share with you. Without the speakers, the GapSummit would not be the same. These guys have really contributed their time and made the effort to prepare interesting discussions for you guys. And I'd really like to extend my thanks to everybody who has contributed to the GapSummit as a speaker over the last 5 days. I'd also like to extend my thanks to the Voices of Tomorrow judges and mentors who've brought the Voices of Tomorrow to life over the last year, over the last 9 months rather. The Voices of Tomorrow was essentially going to be a 3-month competition, but these judges and mentors have shown the dedication to extend the competition with us as we planned this virtual setup. And I'd really like to say thank you for staying on with us and for being so dedicated to the GapSummit and to inspire the next generation of leaders. The GapSummit Advisory Board has been with us from the start. So back in September 2018, when we started conceptualizing the GapSummit, we started thinking about who the best leaders were that we could contact that could give us ideas that we could bounce off our ideas from. And we had an existing advisory board and we got some new members on board. So Karen Mazumdar-Shaw, Professor Sir David Bolcom, and everybody else on here, we're really grateful for your time. The GapSummit is indeed a conference like no other. There's a lot of effort that goes into planning this, right from idealizing and conceptualizing the gaps through to finding the right people to come and speak about them, to then preparing the GapSummit content with them. And so it's truly a journey, and the 6 individuals listed here have seen us through it all. I'd also like to mention a special thanks to Professor Sir Chris Dobson, who unfortunately passed away during our preparation for the GapSummit. And Chris has been a supporter of the GapSummits from the start since the first event in 2014, and has been a supporter in terms of the venue of the GapSummit as well, which was supposed to be St. John's College. And so I'd like to say a special thank you from the committee and the Global Biotech Revolution team to Chris. And of course, our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors for investing in us. Obviously, in these challenging times, a lot of the plans that we had for the conference were changed last minute, and we really appreciate our sponsors' understanding in allowing us to go virtual, in delivering a summit that hadn't been done before. This is our first virtual summit. And I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to do that and for investing in the next generation of leaders as well. They haven't just invested in the Gap Summit, but they've invested in all of you guys, leaders of tomorrow. They're investing in the future of the world. And so a very special thank you to our sponsors for making the Gap Summit possible year on year. And thank you to our leaders of tomorrow. Thank you for being so open-minded about the virtual setup, for continuing on with the Gap Summit, even though we postponed by 4 or 5 months, for staying on and for having, like I said, an open mind, and for embracing it all, for embracing the challenges that we've all incurred through the pandemic, and for staying with us, for persevering through the Voices of Tomorrow competition. And for enjoying Spatial. Like, look at these screenshots, they're amazing. We're so glad you guys have had such a great time with the Spatial networking platform. We'd just like to highlight that, there's going to be there's going to be a social later today that you can join on Spatial as well, to meet Greg, but also to have an informal social session between the 100 of you. So thank you. And workshops. So the essence of the Gap Summit workshops is to put you into smaller groups so you can have an interactive discussion about chosen areas that we have outlined for you. And so I hope that you came out of these workshops knowing each other a little better, knowing the topics that were discussed in the workshops a little better, and that you had one-to-one interactions with the hosts and came away with special ideas that you'll take away into your own careers. And in the lead up to the summit since March, we launched the GBR Engage digital program. And we saw, a number of speakers conduct webinars online, such as Professor Maria Mercedes Roca and Dr. Soumya Swaminathan from the World Health Organization. We also organized informal socials, such as the virtual pub quiz, and also had bio cafes where the 100 of you could come together and network informally. And also discussion groups that allowed you to discuss important topics that are relevant today. So I'd like to thank all of you for having the enthusiasm and for taking out the time out of your busy schedules to come together and discuss important topics and to continue to inspire each other in the way that you have done over the last 5 days. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank my fellow committee members. You might have seen just the 3 of us mostly over the last 5 days here, but there are so many more faces to thank. Back in March, when we decided to postpone the conference, we had the difficult conversation with all of our committee members, whether they'd like to continue in the Gap Summit committee, and everybody said yes. Everybody was on board to help in whatever shape or form, to different levels of ability due to their own personal circumstances. But everybody was so on board to continue working with us, to continue building a Gap Summit that we all envisioned. I'll be different, not in person, but virtual, and I hope still the same. It felt the same to us, although we couldn't physically be together. It felt like we connected with you on Slack, on Spatial, on Zoom. And it's been so great to see all of you here today, especially on the VOT calls, and see what you've come up with. So I'd like to thank my committee here, without which Gap Summit 2020 would not be possible. Honestly, all of these guys are heroes, and I would like to say a massive thanks to all of you. So yeah, thank you so much. And of course, the parent organization behind Gap Summit is Global Biotech Revolution. And you'll hear from Anna a few minutes down the line. But I'd like to say a massive thanks to GBR for supporting the Gap Summit, for supporting our vision. Every Gap Summit team brings something different to the conference. And our committee definitely brought its own vision. And I'd like to thank Anna, Christian, and Carter especially for meeting with us on a very frequent basis, for allowing us to have our own ideas, for allowing us to spread our wings and bring our own substance to the Gap Summit, and for it to feel like ours. And I hope you guys have enjoyed what we've brought to it and will take away lots of things from it. And not listed here, but also would like to thank our marketing ambassadors. And these people have helped us recruit all of you. The diversity of our leaders of tomorrow in this cohort has been amazing. We have over 50 nationalities represented. So I'd really like to thank our marketing ambassadors in different parts of the world for coming together, for taking up our vision of a diverse leader of tomorrow cohort, and for helping us bring all of you guys together. We're so happy to have you here. And last but definitely not least, Venue AV. So these are our technical support team that have been on board with us since the last couple of months, who have really helped us take the conference virtual. You haven't seen these guys, but they've been backstage and they've been literally the backbone of GapSummit virtually. And so thank you to Chris, Oliver, and Matt for allowing us to take our GapSummit online. Without you guys, it really wouldn't be possible. And I'd like to leave you here with this quote from Dr. Pauline Essa, who was part of the Global Bioeconomies panel on Monday. And she said, "There's a lot to do, but you can all do your part in this global success." So all 100 of you, you're working on different things and at different levels. And of course, you're different from each other. But the idea is to embrace your diversity, to come together like a puzzle, and for all of us to do our part in the current challenges that we're facing today, not just the pandemic, but also the different gaps that we talked about over the last 5 days, and the gaps that we haven't been able to incorporate in the GapSummit. So let's all work hard in our own personal and academic and professional lives, and let's all contribute to the world, because together is how we can make a difference. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Anna Gould, who is the president of Global Biotech Revolution, to share her thoughts on GapSummit 2020.
Thanks so much, Siley. And it's my honor to share a few thoughts before we close the GapSummit officially. Biotechnology, more than any other industry, has the power to change the world. But we're just at the beginning of seeing the huge potential this industry can bring, and there are still many gaps. Over the past 5 days, we've heard about some of these gaps. How we can find shared purpose in what we do. How we can create better global collaboration to share solutions with those who really need them. How new technologies will fundamentally change our industry in the coming decades. And today we heard more about what the future and the bio-revolution can bring. Most importantly, we learned about what it means in practice to be a leader. From the early journey as an entrepreneur, through to what that can look like only 10 years down the track at a company like Beijing, through to life as a CEO of an established company like Merck. And of course, in addition, all the other ways besides running a company to be a leader. These gaps are the problems that we as young people will spend our careers working to solve. And to solve these gaps, we need to step up as the next generation of CEOs, experts, and leaders. It's our responsibility to ensure the future of the biotech sector and to keep our energy focused on solving the biggest gaps that still exist. Over the past 5 days, we've had over 60 senior leaders from across biotech and across the world joining us to share their perspectives and their journey as leaders. I hope this has inspired you to learn more about something you might not have known about before, to think bigger, and to know your own potential. Global Biotech Revolution was founded in 2012 by 2 PhD students at the University of Cambridge, with the ambition to close one of the gaps that they saw: a lack of big picture and entrepreneurial thinking in young people, despite their great potential. We wanted to create a forum for intergenerational and global debate with current leaders to spark this fire early on in young leaders' careers. GBR is a labour of love. We're here because we care about the future of the biotech industry and about each other's futures too. GBR and the GapSummits are run entirely by students and young people just like you on a purely voluntary basis alongside our studies or work. From GBR and the GapSummits, you can see what a little bit of energy and shared values can achieve. I'd like to invite you to join us to help us in our mission and also to find your own mission and lead positive change in the world. We've already seen many of you starting this journey during the Voices of Tomorrow competition, and many congratulations to the teams who pitched today. I'd now like to welcome the 2020 organising team to join me on this virtual stage. Not everybody is here, but it would be great if those who are on the call can join and put their video on so that you can see them. Welcome. Organising the 2020 GapSummit has been a real roller coaster. It normally takes a year and a half to organise the Gap Summits, but this team have spent 2 years, all the meantime dealing with PhDs and work and moving country and pregnancy, and not least, a global pandemic, which meant that they needed to go back to the drawing board and organise a whole new Gap Summit. I've been inspired by all the senior leaders we've heard from this week, but personally, I've been most inspired by the journey I've seen this team take, seeing them grow as leaders and seeing their resilience in the face of huge challenges. From our very first concept calls 2 years ago through to this week, this team have brought an unfailing dedication to excellence and a true collaborative spirit. Through their hard work and persistence, they've managed to pull off a Gap Summit this year despite everything, and have given us the inspiration and new connections we've all gained this week. I would like to extend my thanks to every single person on the Gap Summit team, also those who you can't see here in this call at the moment, for their dedication and their persistence. And I would like to give as well a special thank you to the leadership team, Rob, Becca, and Siley, our A team. It has really been a true pleasure to work with them. As I can't ask our audience to join me in a round of virtual applause, though please feel free wherever you may be. If their work has meant something to you, please find them during the networking or write to them to let them know. Gap Summit 2020 is the 6th Gap Summit GBR has run, but the first time we run virtually. With the pandemic still ongoing, we do not currently foresee a possibility to run the Gap Summit face-to-face in 2021, but we aim to continue to run virtually until this is possible again, and to run local meetups in the meantime wherever possible. If you would like to get involved in organising the Gap Summit 2021 or to join the GBR team, I would love to hear from you. Please do reach out. You can find me during the networking or write to me on LinkedIn or Slack or email to get in touch and to find out more. In the meantime, please do also join our alumni groups on Facebook and on LinkedIn to learn and get to know the rest of the leaders of tomorrow from across the Gap Summit cohort and to build your global network. Many congratulations to the 2020 leaders of tomorrow, and welcome to the GBR community. To close, I'd like to challenge you to take the spirit of the Gap Summit with you and to forge your own path as a leader of tomorrow. Take this network and knowledge and share them. Continue to grow yourselves and other young leaders, and put your energy towards work which will help others. Grow your local ecosystem and the potential that you see around you. Each of you has talent, knowledge, education, and now a global network. This gives you both the power, but also the responsibility to go out there and make real and tangible impact towards solving the gaps you see in the world. Making big changes is not magic. It can be as simple as good people doing good work and staying persistent. I'd like to invite you and to challenge you to do just that. And with that, I would like to draw the Gap Summit 2020 to an official close. Please do come over to Spatial and join us in the celebration our team have planned for us. Many thanks and see you there.